welcome back to Flosstube University, hosted by Cross Stitch the Globe. My name is Stephanie.
I'm Allison.
And our channel is about cross stitch. Flosstube University is a special segment that we put out every Thursday where we are covering beginner how to cross stitch videos. We started this for people who buy the patterns from our Etsy shop, but anyone is welcome. And if you have any questions, or if you're a seasoned stitcher and you know a lot about the topic that we're talking about, we would love any questions or comments that you have. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you get future tutorials, but also like Flosstube episodes that are like our fun stitching videos, and then deep dives into like even like more like advanced and intermediate cross stitch topics.
We don't have long enough to talk about in our long floss stitch. So.
Basically, we like to make videos because we're sisters and this is fun.
And this is fun.
And I get to leave the house, so it's very exciting because I have small kids. But I have to go film a video is like a great excuse to leave the house.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we're talking about a topic that is kind of something I've wanted to talk about.
Okay.
I wanted to research it.
I'm glad you did because it sounds so crazy, and she hasn't even told me much about it, so I am learning it.
Okay.
Too.
It's one of those things where it's like you see people talk about like Cashel linen or Edinburgh linen, and you're like, well, why are they called that? And what are all of these terms that go? Because like stitchers is kind of like, okay, well, we know what Aida is, and we know what like an even weave is, and we know what like linen is, but like what are these other things? And we already have a video about cross stitch count, so we know like, okay, we know what 20, if I was to say I'm gonna go buy some 28 count Cashel linen, we've talked about the 28 means, we talked about what the linen means, so today we're gonna talk about what that Cashel means. Like, why are there all of these essentially like brand names stuck in these like fabric counts? Now, like a lot of topics within cross stitch, there's like not that great of information on the internet, and there is good information buried in videos, but you can't always find it. So like if somebody has a really great explainer video on this stuff, I haven't found it, but you can leave it in the comments because we'd love to watch it.
Yeah.
So basically I went through, I wrote down all the things I knew from watching Flosstube. Then I went through the Witchell website. Now I tried to go through the Zweigart because Witchell is one of the big linen producers. I tried to go through the Zweigart website because they're perhaps bigger. I don't even know which is bigger, but of the two, I tend to use Zweigart. Their website, when you go to the pages about their collections and what they actually have for sale, like are down, or at least down in English. I don't know if they're down everywhere because these are German companies. So as a travel writer and a person who's like charting travel photos into cross stitch, I was most curious about the ones that are named after places. But then I found actually there's a lot also that seem to have like women's names, and then some that seem to have just like kind of sciencey names based on like mixes of things. So I figured it would just be fun to kind of like go through what these like brand names are, so you can kind of have an idea like, oh, if somebody says they're stitching on Betsy Ross linen, what is that?
What does that mean?
So obviously the most common for beginners is to use Aida. Now, Aida started out with the name Java Canvas. Now, it is very common within the world of textiles and manufacturing for things to be named after the places they were created. Okay. So I do not know if Aida cloth was invented in Indonesia, or if that was just, and it came, you know, over to Europe with the coffee trade or something or if that was just the name assigned to it. But that is what it was originally called. And Zweigart claims to have invented it, but I don't know if they invented it based on something that was already called Java Canvas. Like I literally bought a Victorian needlework encyclopedia to figure some of this stuff out, and I still couldn't. I could get back to like a little bit, but I couldn't get further than that. So it was once called Java Canvas, then it became Aida cloth. The story, the romantic story in the atmosphere is that the name was changed because of the popularity of the opera Aida. And I think some Americans who like to say Aida instead of Aida like to use that romantic story. But the opera is like Italian, and it has like some diacritical marks that change the letters. And so in America, both Aida and Aida pronunciations are fine. And then also calling it Java Canvas, someone would know what you're talking about, but that's also fine. But I do think it's funny that even the one we don't call after a place still has the place name in its history. Now, when you get into linen, okay, so that's Aida. Aida is created from 100% cotton, but it has like some specific manufacturing techniques. It's not just a bunch of cotton threads in a row.
No, no, it's not.
There are names for fabrics that are made just out of cotton the way that linen is made out of flax that I'll talk about later. But Aida is like its own thing. Then linen. I think linen is the one where the names are super noticeable, like Newcastle. So let's talk about those. Okay, so linen, first of all, true linen is 100% from flax. And Witchelt will sell a linen in the same count that has no name as it's the same count that has a place name. And I couldn't figure out what the differences were. The only thing I could find was on Julie X Stitch's website. It says, these linens are 100% linen and less stiff than standard linen. So there must be something in the like yarn creation or the weaving process that makes the ones that have these names specific. But Belfast and Zweigart both use the same names for the same count. So it's not exactly like, oh, well, this is a proprietary thing that belongs to Zweigart. It's not that, because they both use the same term. So that's as far as I could get as to like, are they different than regular linen? Theoretically, yes. Can't figure out why. If someone from Zweigart wants to come on and do like an all about linen
we could
day,
totally interview you. That would be nice.
We could do it over Zoom. But what I did find was, okay, so these counts of linen have names. Now, I don't think all 28 count linens aren't Cashel linen, but all Cashel linens are 28 count. I think it kind of works like that. So 10 count is Betsy Ross.
10 count is called Betsy Ross.
Yes. Okay. I didn't know there was a 10 count linen until yesterday.
I have a 10 count linen.
A 10 count linen? Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, no. It's an Aida. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. My bad.
So 10 count linen apparently is called Betsy Ross. And all the ones I found are ones that are either for sale now or were for sale recently enough that you might come across them at like an estate sale or something. And it'd still be nice to know like what it is. But Betsy Ross is still for sale. Okay, 16 count linen is called Hardanger. Now, unlike Betsy Ross, which is clearly named after an American woman, we're getting into the place names. Hardanger, it's a type of embroidery. It like
that confused me.
It's a type of white work embroidery, but that embroidery is named after a district in Norway, and I think that this name is named after that district in Norway, and probably its associations with those embroideries, but also it is a place name. Hardanger is a district in Norway. All right, 25 count linen, which is not a super common one you see these days, is Dublin linen. Dublin is obviously the capital of Ireland. Ireland, which is like the entire island of Ireland, so both Ireland and Northern Ireland, were like huge manufacturing centers and very like famous places for linen in the 19th century. I think the last place in Northern Ireland that made like true, like from the ground, like wove it, the yarns and everything where you could call it that it was really from there, closed up shop, like I think 2009, but I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, so they don't make it anymore. So these are not, Dublin linen is not manufactured in Dublin. And I don't believe that like the 25 count was invented in Dublin. Like, I think it's just that they've taken place names that are associated with the history of linen and used those both as an homage and also like maybe just caused some slight confusion when these were created as Irish linen and like was very famous and popular back then. But I don't really know. I'd love like a Zweigart historian to come and tell us all about that. But 25 count is Dublin linen. 28 count is Cashel. This is the most common, where you start to hear 28 count and above are like the ones you hear the most. So Cashel is a town in County Tipperary, Ireland.
Really?
Could not find anything about it being like a huge center of manufacturing of linen, but like I'm sure that it is in its history. Okay, 32 count is Belfast linen. Belfast is the capital of Northern Ireland and is famously like a center for like a center for Irish linen in the past. Belfast and Dublin are also wonderful places to take a vacation. So highly recommend both places. They're fabulous. I've never been to Cashel or County Tipperary. I've probably driven through County Tipperary, but I've never been there. Weirdly enough, I used to live by the Betsy Ross's house in Philadelphia.
Oh, you're kidding.
So maybe I'm just like personally more invested in these things. All right, 36 count, Edinburgh linen. Edinburgh, capital of Scotland. Scotland, another famous is place where they made linen, and another place where linen is not made as much anymore. 40 count, Newcastle, city in Northern Ireland, another industrial center where they made a lot of linen. All of these are now currently manufactured in Germany. I don't believe 40 count Newcastle linen was like something invented in Newcastle, but if somebody knows otherwise, I think it's just, they're just assigned these names. But I would love to know more about that. But city in Northern Ireland, or in Northern England. 46 count, Bristol, another industrial place, city in southwestern England. And I also found 46 count on the Witchell's website, I don't know about Zweigart, where some 46s are called Bergen, which is a city in Norway.
Interesting.
So, it's a city in West Norway. It is the second largest city in Norway after Oslo.
Oh.
And then 56 count linen is Kingston linen. And that is a city in the southwest part of London. I think in the United States, we would say it was a suburb of London, but there they say it is a city in southwest London. I looked at a map. It looks far enough out where, like, to me, it looks like it's in the London metropolis, but...
Like the village is in Oklahoma City?
No, this would be more like Edmond versus Oklahoma City. But I think there is, like, London has different things. But I'm not 100%. It might be a neighborhood in London, but according to the internet, it is a city in southwest London. Mm-hmm. All right, so those are the names for the linen counts, and I don't think anybody's surprised that they all are kind of like places with like historic ties to like at least the fabrics that we use. I don't know if and with Hardanger, also an embroidery style. Mm-hmm. All right, now we're getting into even weaves. Okay, so linen is an even weave because those counts are the same going on the warp and the weft, which we talked about before. Mm-hmm. But both directions, they're the same. So up and down, you have the same count as you have left to right.
You're gonna make squares.
Even weaves are, when you start talking about like even weaves, like things like lugana, you're really talking about fabrics that are mixes of cotton or linen, but most of these are mixes with cotton, and rayon and modal or polyester or something that is a synthetic fabric that give you a better control over the actual like size of the threads. Because with linen, you get slubs, you get things that are different sizes. Linen is 100% natural.
Is where it's like bunched up.
Yeah. And when you start talking about mixing, blending with synthetics, that's where you start talking about science and people having copyrights and trademarks and different formulas being preferred by different companies and different people. So there are a lot of names associated with these. But when you hear any of these names, you're talking about an even weave that is a mix, mostly of cotton, and then some kind of synthetic substance. So lugana is the one you hear the most, right? Lugana is 52% cotton, 48% rayon. And within lugana, a 25 count lugana is called Valerie, which is our other sister's name.
Nice.
A 28 count cotton is actually technically a Brittany, which is a region in northern France, across the channel from England. So again, in that kind of like belt, and also almost all the flax that's like, not all, but like a lot of the flax historically that was used in making fine linen all came from Belgium and France. So it makes sense to me that France is also part of this network. And then Murano is a 32 count lugana, and that is an island in Venice, Italy. And lugana is actually a region of Italy. So we're still using place names to talk about things. Still has that kind of like romantic, whatever. But now we are talking about a mix between, like, it's not just manufacturing, it's also like a little bit of cooking.
Yeah.
There are other kinds of, there's a lot of other kinds of even weaves out there that are sold by these same companies. And Alma, so we're, Lugana was 52% cotton, 48% rayon. Alma is 51% cotton, 49% rayon.
Okay.
Floba is 52% cotton, 48% rayon. Don't know how that's different than
Lugana.
How is
that different?
Jobelyn is 51% cotton, 49% a mix of rayon and modal. Modal.
What is modal?
It's another like synthetic. So nylon, I think, was like one of the first synthetic, and that one's actually nylon is a mix of New York and London.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
so
cool.
rayon, I think, is when they took the nylon and then they kept going, so no longer has a place name.
Gotcha.
And then Jazlyn is 52% cotton, 48% modal. So within all of those, only a scientist or like a real fabric textile expert could tell us really what the the purpose of those differences, those tweaks are. But
let us know.
And also, like, if you prefer one over another, like, cool. Yeah. Like, I don't know the difference between the even weave that I've used and the luganas that I've used, because the even weave didn't even have it. Because, like, I bought an even weave from Witch's Garden Crafts, but she didn't say which one it is, so I couldn't tell you, like, oh, it's this or this.
Yeah.
There are a few more names in the even weave world. So Bellana is a 20 count even weave that is 55% cotton, 45% viscose.
I've heard of that before. It's more like plastic.
I don't know. Modena is 36 count, 52% cotton, 48% modal. So I don't know if Modena is technically a Jazlyn. Like, I mean, at this point we're just talking about science, and so it's kind of fun. But if you know, and one you do hear a lot, Verdal is a 40 count, 50% cotton, 50% modal. I used to think Verdal was like 40 count lugana. It's not. It's like 50% cotton, 50% modal.
Okay.
But like on Bestitch Me, you can buy like a Verdal, you can buy a lugana, like. So within the world of like sciencey, like more sciencey, more like formula, you also have Fiddler's Cloth, which is 50% cotton, 42% polyester, 8% linen, and that comes in a 14 count. And I don't know the benefit of that. All right. Then getting back to like natural fibers that have names. So within cotton that are not Aidas, you have some cottons that have names. 7 count is a Monk's. 18 count is a Davos, and Davos is a city in Switzerland where they host that like very fancy economic forum every year where all the billionaires go. And also Davos is something commonly called for in prairie schoolers. Then you got a 22 count Hardanger, which is different than the 16 count Hardanger linen. But I do think both are used in Hardanger embroidery, but we are not Hardanger embroidery experts. Hardanger is again a district in Norway. 24 count cotton, 100% cotton. There's a Congress cloth. I don't know what that means. Then when you get up here, now we have like 27 count is Linda, which I do hear people use. And even on Bestitch Me, you can get made. 28 count 100% cotton is Annabelle. And 28 count, there's another 28 count 100% cotton that's a Monaco, but people treat it like it's a lugana, but everything I read, people talk about it like it's a lugana in terms of that it might be like slightly synthetic or something, but everything I read was 100% cotton. So if you know more about Monaco than me, and I believe somebody I was watching said they're not making it anymore. So that I don't know. Then you have some cotton linen blends. Quaker Cloth is a 28 count cotton linen blend.
That's cool.
Lucan is a 32 count cotton linen blend, and Mallow is a 40 count cotton linen blend. And then they also sell.
And are these commonly sold? Because I haven't heard these terms before.
They're not called for commonly.
Okay.
But they're all for sale on like, which
like you could, if I wanted to go buy
you could order it tomorrow.
Okay.
And like I said, some of these you see, and you also see people are like, oh, I'm stitching this on a 22. And then also if you were to go to like an estate sale or Facebook Marketplace and get like a random bag of something, because the things people stitch on have changed over time. Some of these are more common in the past. Some of these are more like popular now. Yeah.
Okay.
Jute is like a more rough, like almost like a burlap, but it's 100% cotton. I don't know, it's 100% jute. It's sold in a 10 and a 12. And sometimes you'll see people do like prairie schoolers and stuff on them to like look rougher. And then,
oh, prairie schoolers stocking on linen that's like rustic.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
That's, I mean, and a lot of times they do call for it on those kinds of more interesting fabrics. The only other thing I have to say about like all of these terms that you'll see is like, if something's called for in a Jobelyn and you want to do it in a lugana, like I would personally do it. Some people are very much like, I do the call for, and that's why this video might be helpful too. Like, do I want to mess with, if the call for is jute, well, that's a very different look. You might want to go find it. Or no, like, well, if you do it on linen, it's going to look totally different.
Right.
But if the call for is like Jobelyn and you want to do it on a lugana, like, you do you, if that's what you want to do. Like, it's not going to change that much. There is one other kind of fabric that you're starting to see pop up that they don't sell, like Witchel and Swigert would sell, and that is hemp, 100% hemp. And I bought some that I'm gonna do a I'll show in our next like regular floss tube, and it feels really soft. I'm excited, and it's a 32 count, but it's just called hemp. It's from Jackson Fabric Arts on Etsy. It's not called anything like
Belfast.
Yeah, they're in Virginia. They should call it.
They call it Virginia.
Well, they should call it Virginia. They should call it Virginia fabric.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you've always wondered about these places, I was hoping we could find out even more, but like the information just really isn't out there. So if you know it, share it. But if you hope you learned something interesting, leave a comment if you know anything else. If you have any questions, if you made it this far in the video,
just give us
leave a little Irish flag, the Irish flag emoji. That'll be our secret language that you made it this far.
Okay.
And then subscribe if you want more videos like this, and then even crazier, weirder, longer ones in your feed. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.